and I think we can start. Then the people will keep connecting. My name is Alberto Wirtz. I'm part of the innovation and product development team here in Aracari. And the webinar today is for you all to understand why Peruvian cuisine is so hot and so trendy right now in the whole world. Why, for 8 years in a row, Peru has been chosen as the leading culinary destination in the world at the World Travelers Award for 8 years in a row. And the ladies I have here with me today, they're going to explain you the why. I want to introduce you all to Marisol Mosquera. She is the CEO and founder of Aracari, and then to Maria Julia Raffo, which is not only our best PR that we can have here in Aracari, but an expert in Peruvian gastronomy and a really good cooker, I must say. And Penelope Alzamora, who is part of our experiences in Aracari, in experience we call Lima with Cés. She's also a chef. So these beautiful ladies are going to tell you why Peruvian cuisine is so much trendy right now. With you, Marisol.
Thank you, Alberto. Well, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to see you, that you're here with us and logging in from so many different parts of the world. This is the last one of our 4 webinar series that we've had. And we've really enjoyed it, and we continue to enjoy it. And I think this is going to be the best one because it's the one that's closest to our heart. And Aracari has been working with Peruvian cuisine for a very long time. And basically, this presentation that you can see here, it's called From the Incas to Nobu, was that originally a lecture that I gave back in 2008. In London at 2 different venues to promote Peruvian cuisine. And we've of course adjusted it and made it more beautiful and more contemporary and adding all these wonderful experiences that we now offer and a wonderful accomplishment, which is the Peru Food Guide, only travel guide to Peru that is in the market. And you can download it for free on the website, and we'll show you how at the end of the presentation. And with me today is Maria Julia Raffo, a great dear old friend of mine. She's works in many guises at Aracari, and amongst them, she's our gastronomic advisor. Her solid relationship and friendship with many of the chefs in Lima makes it possible that we can get access to their input, their company, and their participation in many of our experiences. And she opens all the doors in the world of cuisine and other doors too. So welcome Maria Julia from Lima. And then we've got Penelope, it's her birthday today. So we have to wish her sing happy birthday at the end of this and wish her a wonderful birthday. And she's joining us from her beach house in Lima. And she's a chef. She's lived in San Francisco and worked as a restaurateur there. She's a mother of 2 and works as a chef and showcasing Peruvian cuisine to our guests. And you will see her, she will be explaining her experience at the end. Anyway, without more ado, I welcome you to this presentation, which I hope you enjoy. It's half an hour, and then there's question and answer session, which we will answer live and in writing. So, Maria Julia, the stage is with you.
Thank you, Marisol, and welcome everybody. And this will be a webinar that is not a lecture from me. It will be like a conversation between us 3, our panelists, and also Alberto. He can pitch in because he's very good at it, and he does our urban eats here in Lima. So we will start. Peru. The gastronomy is not from the last 30 years what people think. Peru, sorry, we go way back, 2,000 years before Christ, a lot of ecosystems, and that is why we have such a rich gastronomy, because of our products and the products that came from the old continent, from Europe. So here we have the map of Peru that show why we do have all these ecosystems. We have the coast that is a desertic coast, mostly in the north. It starts to get warmer, and we have the currents of the humboldt currents and winds that make it very cold water. Then we have the Andes with amazing ecosystems in itself, and then we go to the lower Andes and the jungle, which is a completely different ecosystem. So we do have, that's the variety of products, the pantry of our country. Here we can see why we have this amazing, the coast, the Andes, the jungle, and of course, the desertic areas of the coast that have incredible products. These are many of them. This is at the top left, we have the ají. This is a ají limo specifically, but all our preparations, they all have at least one type of ají, the chili peppers. No? Then these are payares, the lima beans, and they are called lima beans because of the package when they took it to Spain. They were coming from Lima, so that's why they call it the lima beans, and everybody calls them that. Then we have our corn. That this is the fresh corn that we eat fresh, but from there it derives into the maize and all the kinds of corns. And the most important, our potatoes. The potatoes in Peru, we have registered because we have the center of the DNA for the potato here for the worldwide, and the gene, there's registered more than 3,000 types of potatoes registered. At the moment, in use in our society, not only in Lima, but around Peru, in the Andes, there's around 200 types of potatoes that we actually use and that are harvested. No? In Lima, for example, if you go to the supermarket, in a normal supermarket, you can find at least 6 types of potatoes within. And so you have the regular white ones, and then you have all the native potatoes. So this is how important potatoes are for our way of living and cooking and eating. And this is not from now, this is from centuries ago. No, this is how to show that our native ingredients were there before the Spanish came, before the Incas, even with the pre-Inca cultures. No? At the top left, we have what we have. It's called the custard apple. We call it chirimoya. No, the second top is potatoes. Then we have the corn. Then we have one of the special pumpkins or squashes that's called loche, that it's mainly from the north of Peru.
I think it's called butternut squash.
No, the butternut is different. The loche is very rich and very, very hard. And it has a very nutty taste. And it's mainly from the north. Then we have at the bottom left, what we call sacha tomate, which is like a tree tomato, more or less. Then we have another one with corn that I think that shows the purple corn that is so important in our drinks and a lot of desserts that we have nowadays. Then we have the chilies, the ají. And on the right, a fruit that is mainly from Peru. There's a little bit in the north of Chile, but mainly from Peru, and it's called lucuma. Okay, so this, imagine these ingredients were depicted in our ceramics from pre-Inca cultures. So this is how important they were. No, as I was saying, our purple corn is very important for every day. For example, now that I'm in quarantine and that I have to go once a week to the supermarket, I always buy a bunch of purple corns because it's very important to have here at home Chicha Morada, the purple chicha, which is a non-alcoholic drink that you put to boil these corns, and you put it with cinnamon and a bit of pineapples skin, and then you put a little bit of sugar and lemon, and this is something that is very important for us. And from there, you mix it and do other preparations. So this is our purple corn from then and now.
And then one thing is important is that in the end, when you have traveled around Peru, you will have seen people drinking chicha. That's a white drink, which is fermented maize, right? And that is first cousin of Chicha Morada, but it's not, this is not alcoholic. The other one is alcoholic. And it was the drink that the Incas would have in their sacred vessels, etc.
Exactly, and each region has their own chicha, and the northern chicha in the coast is different from the one in the Andes, but it's all based on fermented, and the procedure is complicated, and it's very strong and very acidic to the stomach. So this is our other of our native ingredients. We have the alpaca that was used for their meat and also the wool, the fish, and the guinea pigs. And I know that's controversial. I always have our guests that say, no, I don't want to try it. It's a pet. But as in many cultures around the world, we've been eating, these are very healthy animals. They only eat herbs, and they're very clean, and it's a delicious meat. And if it's well prepared, I fully recommend it. Nobody believes me, but you have to try it. You have to try it. And here, then we come to the superfoods. The superfoods have been in our pantry for generations and centuries. But nowadays, the world considers them as the superfoods. And it's amazing because at the top we have the cacao. We are great producers of cacao, close to the Ecuadorian cacao, almost there, competing. We also export to Belgium and to Switzerland for processing as chocolate. Here we have on the right is maca. A lot of people know maca because of their powers, for health and for energy and for sexual health, etc., etc. It's different, and for menopause as well. Then on the left down, we have kiwicha, which is the amaranth. Nowadays, the amaranth around the world is so important as a superfood, and it's been in our culture forever. And on the right, we have the aguaimanto. It's a little, how do you call it, gooseberries, is it?
Andean gooseberries.
Andean gooseberries, exactly. And it's a delicacy. And here, I used to have it in my garden when I was a little kid and go with my grandmother and pick them up to the ones that were with a dry skin so we could eat it. I mean, it's amazing. But now the world knows them as superfoods. So this is a picture of the quinoa. Quinoa, we're going to start with our influences, but I want you to know that the quinoa is very important food for our Andean communities. And nowadays, because it's exported, it's complicated for them because they used to be able to consume it locally, and now most of it is exported. So imagine the price of it has gone up, and they've had to vary their diet. So it's important to say that. So this is how the pre-Hispanic influence in our food. The picture on the left is a mix. It's a stew made from oyucos, which is a tuber that is cousin with a potato, very low in starch, and that is cooked with charqui. Charqui is the jerky, the dried meat of the llama. And so these two very essential foods from pre-Hispanic mixes with the Hispanic influence of way of cooking. And this is oyuquito with charqui. That's the name of the dish. On the right-hand side, we have our pachamanca. Pachamanca was one of the, as well as the huatilla, so two of the main ways of cooking pre-Hispanically, which is under the earth with hot rocks. Many cultures around the world have the same way of cooking in different names, but this is very important for us because there was no frying and making the seasonings like the Spanish introduced it. So before that, it was like that. And in the bottom right, we have the way to preserving our many potatoes. It's the dry and cold drying, put into the sun. Yeah, dehydrating. And there's 2 or 3, no? But the main one is called chuño, or the papa seca as well. That is used in
moraya. Is there one called moraya?
Moraya as well.
Dehydrated potato.
Exactly. And there's different ones, and they are used for different types of preparations and soups. But basically, it's dehydrating, no, drying, and also deep freezing in high altitude. So very interesting, very, very interesting. So then the Spanish arrive, and then we have the influence and the mix, no, with the Indian, with the Spanish, and then the slaves, the blacks, with the Spanish, and then the blacks with the Indians, and so on. That's what makes our culture and our gastronomy so rich and so amazing, because they mix their techniques and their ingredients, and that's really why it's so interesting. So now comes what we call the comida criolla, the Creole cuisine, which starts with the influence of the Spanish. The Spanish, we send to Europe, we send the corn, tomatoes, many other things. You can help me. But the Spanish bring, cilantro. Sorry. Hey, sorry.
It's okay, Maria Julia. We are alive. That's it.
Not only we are alive, we are in quarantine, and she's in quarantine. What we call coriander in England and cilantro in the US.
Citrus.
Exactly, all the citrus, the lemons,
olive oil,
cheese, because we didn't have cows, so they brought the cows from the cows. The cheese, and a lot of, and also the way of cooking, the onions, very important. We didn't cook with, the frying of the onion with the chilies, etc. We didn't do that before the Spanish. They brought that, and the stews and the cilantro, coriander, came from the Far East. But it came with the influence of the Spanish, because they had the cooks. They already had immigration from North Africa, etc. No? So that fusion is amazing. And the sweets, the desserts in Peru. The desserts in Peru, if you try them, they are
very sweet.
Very sweet, and very similar to very Moorish North African desserts, because most of the cooks for the Spanish that came were Moorish, there was already the fusion there and the invasions. So there's a lot of the honeys, almonds,
marzipan.
The
nuns would make, right?
Exactly, and the nuns will work and survive by selling these desserts. So it's incredible. The sweets here, people that have been to Peru, I don't know, you have a suspiro de limeña, that is, if you eat it, your palate here, it goes like it, because it's so sweet. So
the
sweet.
Variety of desserts that there are, it's normally a little bit too sweet for most people's taste, right? But there is a great variety, and mainly made in convents. So there's very funny names that they have.
Exactly.
But delicious.
So they'll have the picarones, the arroz con leche. I mean, the rice pudding, everybody has rice pudding, but here is amazing. It's delicious. No? And then we come to very important influence, which is the slaves immigration. The slaves immigration, what happened was that they were in terrible conditions, and they will process all the pork, all the meats, but they hardly had anything to eat. So what they had is everything that was left, that wasn't eaten by their owners, they will cook. So we have anticuchos, for example, which is a cow's heart. cow's heart, and they use a lot of condiments to obviously cover the smell or the strong taste from the offal. No, on the right, it's stomach. We call it mondongo. Tripe. We call it mondongo, or you call it callos in Spain, or tripe, and it's amazing. And usually we do it in caucao, which is with mint or hierbabuena. I don't know, which is similar to mint. And so that is very, very important, because we grew up eating offal a lot, you know, in a lot of houses. Why? And that's very, very the African influence of it, no? And of course, who's been to Peru knows that the chifas and the Chinese influence are very important. They came as cheap labor, indentured workers, and they had to bring their own spices and condiments, and they brought also rice with them. And what happened? I mean, in Peru, you cannot go anywhere or eat anywhere without rice, and that came with the Chinese. No? So sorry.
And still now in Peru, you find in many markets, right? Well, in the market in general, that a lot of the condiments, you call them with their Chinese name, Cantonese.
Absolutely. We say, instead of saying ginger or jengibre in Spanish, we say kion, which is the Chinese name. And the holantao, which is the bean, the
manchtu that they call, no?
The manchtu, exactly. Many things. And you go to the market, the Surquillo market, for example, and there's the whole corridor that is all Chinese products, because
and it's funny because there's like the local people that have nothing to do with Chinese. They cannot live without their kion at home, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I buy a hand of kion every week, and I
that's
use
rare, because in Europe that's unheard of. It's just a modern thing, but in Peru we've always been doing it.
Yeah, and then what happens? The Chinese immigration comes from Canton in China, which is one of the richest gastronomic areas in China. And so we're very, very lucky, no, to have that influence.
They say that there's more Chinese restaurants than any other type of. There's like hundreds of chifas.
Absolutely, there's in every neighborhood. There's in every corner, and there's.
And you know, chifan means to eat in Cantonese, so that's where it comes from.
Great, thank you, because you know, Marisol has been learning Chinese for many years. Yeah, so then we go to the very big next immigration, because this all comes by waves, you know, and the Italian immigration that was at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, was very important. They stayed in Callao, in the port, and they brought their techniques, because as we know, for them, food is so important. So they brought their techniques to cook and products, and they mix them with our culture. So we have on the right, we have the butifarra. Butifarra, it's ham, cured ham, jamón del país, made in this sandwich with onion, and that ham came with the Italians. But they made it here and mixed it with the onions and the chilies, and they made this amazing sandwich that for us is very, you know, there's no birthday party without a butifarra.
Are you having any, Penelope, today?
Yeah.
I wish, yes, but I'm a little away from Lima. So I'm gonna have a fish.
Yeah, but you are right on the ocean, which is lucky that you're having fresh fish. We are not having fresh fish because there's no fresh fish in the markets at the moment. So then Japanese, as you know, or maybe you don't, but Japanese now in Peru is very important. They started arriving at also the same as the Italians, end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century. And different from the Chinese, they didn't bring their ingredients, their spices, but they have this culture of the fish. So for them, it's very important. We were talking about this, Penny. Can you
Tell us a little
tell
bit.
us a little bit, because this is Mr. Sato, that is so important for Peruvian, Japanese, Nikkei cooking.
The Nikkei. Yeah. Well, about the ceviche, no? When I'm gonna explain you a little bit about my experience, what I do, I always a dish that I always do is a ceviche. I think ceviche in Peru is very important, no matter which region you are. There are many theories how ceviche started, but I think, I believe, and I like that the one who started with the mochicas. The mochicas was this Incas culture from the north coast of Peru. The amazing fishermen, they caught the fish, and a way to preserve the fish, they added the local ajís, the salt, and at that time they didn't have a lime or any citrus, so they added the juice of tumbo, which is a very sour fruit. Then, when the Spanish came, they introduced the citrus, like the sour orange, the limes, the onions, the cilantro, started adding to that. And we used to cure or marinate the ceviche in Peru for long hours, 2 to 4 hours. I always say that for us, maybe some people don't know, the ceviche we only eat for lunch. And that's why Japanese is very important. When the Japanese community came, they were fascinated by the variety of fishes and the bounty of seafood that we have here. And the limeños, mainly Lima, they didn't know how to prepare, how to eat it. The octopus, the calamaris, the rockfish, the cheetahs, wonderful cheetahs like Mr. Sato did, the wonderful cheetah. And but they say, wow, with this wonderful and fresh fish, you should not cure the ceviche for long hours. So for limeños, and we are very picky with the ceviche, which is a simple dish, but it's very important, the quality of the products, no? So the freshness is important. The best limes come from the north coast of Piura, Chulucana, the north coast of Peru, Piura, mainly. Wonderful, very good is the onion from Arequipa. So that combination, no? But the Japanese was very important hint in the preparation of the ceviche, no? So, and some of the best cevicherias in Peru, like Sato, the ceviche from Sato was amazing. So that combination, that Nikkei combination has been amazing, and we really are grateful for that, no? In Peru.
Super, thank you, Penny. You know, I'm very lucky because I'm passionate about this, but sometimes I don't have all this knowledge, and Penny is so knowledgeable about our Peruvian.
Nikkei is the name given to Peruvian Japanese cuisine, right? And the population of Peruvian Japanese are Nisei, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then, with all this introduction, now we come to what modern Peruvian cuisine is. That is what brings all these travelers around the world looking for these amazing experiences. And one of the most important influencers for this is Gaston Acurio, who we have here in this picture, and who he not only put the Peruvian cuisine in the world, but he believed in rescuing our origins. He was the first one. So, and we have a very, very nice anecdote that I want Marisol to tell you.
Yeah, well, Gaston was studying law, and he went to live in Europe, and there he started learning to cook. He abandoned law, and then he came back to Peru and set up a restaurant, Castriti Gaston, which is a French restaurant at the time, with his German wife, and she was the baker. And they had this wonderful restaurant, and he was struck. He then discovered Peruvian cuisine and started introducing it and started becoming passionate. And they then started going to a show called Madrid Fusión, which is where young exotic chefs would go, and he met the international chefs, and there he met the Spanish chefs, and he started to lure them to come to Peru. And one day we coincided at the airport. One of our representatives coincided at the airport, and he was there greeting some people that we were bringing, and we started a relationship. And I said, look, if you have guests that want to come to Peru for your cuisine, then we'd be happy to take them around. And we were handling the trips of the early chefs who came to taste Peruvian cuisine. He was so passionate to show them his cuisine. He personally took care of them when we took care of one of the ones who put him on the map, which was Jose Maria Arzac from San Sebastian when he came to Peru. And then he sort of persuaded them that this was wonderful, and they were convinced. And then they started streaming along, and here we are. So yeah, Maria Julia.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Marisol. And this is what Aracari is all about. There's all these connections that we have with our people, that it's been for years and years of building up friendships and rescuing what our friends have to, special things that they have that they didn't even, Gaston, he is famous, but we have other friends that had these amazing things to offer, and they didn't know that they could work with us. So now it comes to our 50 best. So it's a lot of these restaurants that on the top 50, we have 9 restaurants in Peru, 8 of them in Lima. So imagine what the gastronomic offer is here in Peru. So here we have, number 1 is Micha from Maido. You have a vlog too. Micha from Maido. He's a great friend of ours. He is an amazing guy. He's in our video. I mean, you have to all go in our website, and we have our gastronomic video where we have Penelope, we have Micha, and we have other chefs that show why it's so important that we work together, And Micha is one of them, that he really believes in that, in rescuing, the locals, the local fishermen, etc. And he works with us very closely, and we are good friends, and we chat, and hopefully we will have a conversation with him and Pedro Miguel. We are already organizing it for in 2 weeks' time. Then we have Virgilio with Central. As you all know, how difficult it is to get a reservation with Central. He's amazing. It's a completely different experience, because it's the type of food that like Dome in Sao Paulo, like it's more an experiment and molecular cooking and rescuing. What he does is he uses the ingredients from each area. He goes to a microclimate, he looks at what that microclimate has to offer, and he develops things from those products in that microclimate. That's why one of his tasting menus is called the altitude or altitudes, which is because he goes on these microclimates and he creates these amazing dishes that you may have seen in Chef's Table. Then we have Renzo Garibaldi from Oso. They call him the big butcher in Peru, with also it's matured meats. Peru is not a meat country, but imagine, he's, I believe he's number 9, I can't see. Then we have Jose del Castillo. Jose del Castillo with Isolina Taberna Limeña. Every time I go there, and I bump into Penelope because she lives very close. And we always bump to each other because we love eating that. And I do cook a lot of this kind of food here at home, which is the traditional Peruvian dishes. Jose comes from, it's almost 40 years that he's had, it's 40 or 30 years that he's had his first restaurant that was called La Red. That was a fish restaurant. He's still there, and it's a neighborhood fish restaurant, very good. But he wanted to rescue the recipes from his mom. Isolina is his mother, and she's a very good cook from the traditional limeño recipes, which is that very Creole Spanish mixture. And it's impossible to get a table. I mean, there's no reservations, but I'm very good friends with the doorman. So I every time I go, I tip him really well, a max, and I always get a table for our guests. So you know, that's great. Then we have Gaston, as we were talking about him, with Astridi Gaston. Then Rafael. Rafael is an amazing chef. He's one of my favorite restaurants is El Mercado, but this is with Rafael, his main flagship restaurant. And it's a lot of influence. He has Spanish influence in his cuisine, but he's done amazing things with techniques and our ingredients. And good friend of mine for many years. So every time I ask him, you know,
and we can create. He will never say no to Maria Julia, so that's
never.
a very good thing. And so we can organize. Some of the things we organize is that when your guests come to Peru and they have a dinner reservation, and it's not a pre-assigned meal like in Central that you've got the menu. When you
exactly
a la carte, like Maido or like Rafael, they don't know what to choose, and then what we Maria Julia will go and help them choose and then leave, and or we organize that somebody who is the maitre at the restaurant, because we know them well, does that for you, or even if the chef is there to come and say hello, right?
No, yes. When he's there and I I go into the restaurant with him, he always comes and says, okay, who do we have today? Because we always have like very interesting people, and he loves it. And he speaks wonderful English, very British English, and he's handsome and really, he's adorable. And he's a good friend of mine. And also I love him. Then we have Pia Leon. Pia Leon is Virgilio Martinez from Central's wife. She is the first woman from Peru chef to have a restaurant in the top 50. Her restaurant is called Koye, Kjolle, Koye, which is the name of a flower in the Andes, and it is. I mean, she's been working with Virgilio before, but she's created her own identity within this kind of cooking. And the restaurant is very interesting because it's in Barranco, and you have Central in the lower floor, and you have Koye in the top floor, and you have a bar that is called Mayo, which is great. And she's adorable. She's young and very, very nice and very accessible lady, very, very nice. And they have a little boy, son. Then we have Gaston also with Lamar. That is one of the first upmarket ceviche places in Lima, and it's still going. I mean, you cannot get in there. The lines are from midday, but we do have our connections, and hopefully we always have a little way of getting a table. Then Virgilio again with Mil up in Cusco in the Valle Sagrado, very next to Moray. Great experience, similar to the one in Central, but I like it more. It's shorter, and also it's more, you are in the place. So he works directly with the communities, and he has this experience as well now that you can go to the communities and learn with him this what their products are. And then one of he's my nephew, Pedro Miguel in Malabar, great chef. He learned to cook before going to study with my father. So therefore he's very dear to me. And he has Malabar, one of the top restaurants, and Amas as well, who's not in the list, but Amas is the Amazonian cooking, because he is a key for rescuing products and techniques from the Amazon. And he's very famous for it. And he has a television program, etc. And then last but not least, we have Jaime Pesaque, who's a great friend. Maita, he's worked very hard to get where he is. He's very young, but very knowledgeable and very adventurous and risks a lot. So it took him a lot of time to get where he is and his new restaurant in Maita. He opened once a long time ago. He had to close it, and then now he's opened again. And I sold him my Triumph motorcycle, so he loves me. So anytime we need, he's there. So these are our tops. And then we come to what Aracari, after, knowing all this information, we specialize in, which is creating experiences based on everything that we've told you. We've created experiences from our heart, with our local knowledge, with our local contacts, trying to make the best. And here our top and number one is Lima Beans with Penny, and I let her explain to you what this is all about.
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful that Marisol, we met Marisol after I came back from San Francisco 11 years ago. So this idea started when I was living in San Francisco. I taught in a cooking school. I was the only Latin Peruvian who was teaching Peruvian classes, and I met wonderful people there. And every Christmas I came here, they say, Penny, can I go with you? Are you going to Peru? It's summer, can I go with you? Yes, came. And that's what I used to do always, since Limeños, Peruvian, we love to eat. I was a cook, so I went to the market 3 times a week, then cook with the friends, the family. So the idea of this experience is to to visit, to have a day with your friend, the local chef, and experience like the locals, no? What we do, we go to the market. We love go to the market, the farmers market. I love the farmers markets. I live in Barranco on Sundays, or go to the Mercado de San Isidro, which started like a Mercado de Pescadores. So wonderful fishermen. There's Lalo, that I love Lalo, and I love when I go there. Usually I try to plan, it depends, I always have to know the allergies or the restrictions, but I love the bounty of fish and seafood that we have. So I love watching what the octopus, or maybe the navaja, the wonderful. There's the fish terminal, which is fantastic. I had a restaurant also here before, and I used to go there. Sometimes, very few, but when the chefs came, they want to go to the fish terminal. But we have to go there before 5 a.m. in the morning. So my second favorite place for fish is going to that market where it's Lalo. And so what we do is we go to the market, buy all our ingredients, go to Barranco, which is my barrio, my neighborhood. My Janisita, my right hand, started doing the mise en place. We do like a short walk around Barranco, and either have a coffee at the local coffee shops, or go to a gallery. Barranco is this wonderful neighborhood, the artistic neighborhood, so it's nice to walk and have a local idea, and then start cooking and have lunch. So that's the idea of that, and I really love it. I have met great people from Aracari. Tan is a gift. So it's many ways to introduce the Peruvian food, and this is one of them, and I love to eat.
And it wouldn't be the same with anybody else, because Penny is the most adorable, person. So honestly, she's thank you.
Thank you.
So then we go, to Urban Eats. Urban Eats, we have a great team in marketing and innovation, and because I love eating, and I love cooking, and I love gastronomy, I said to Marisol, we need to create something that shows what we Limeños, we people from Lima, do in every day. Every country has, the urban eat, street food, etc. And I think we can show what we limeños do in our day-to-day when we finish working in the morning, etc. So, or what the housewives or the people from restaurants as well, no, do in the mornings, early in the morning. So what we created is this, is the day-to-day of the people from Lima, what they do. And what do? They go to the market, they choose their products. And so we go around that market, and we don't go to the same as Penny to make it different, of course. So you can do both. We go to Surquillo market, which is a little bit more local, more chaotic, if you want to say. Is you know, have all the Chinese, and then you have all the fruits and the people screaming and the fish at the back, and it's incredible. And then we take them to, for example, we go to La Preferida, which is a little, it used to be a corner shop, neighborhood corner shop, with what it used to be Yugoslavian immigrants that they used to make in that bodega, in that shop. They used to make, as well as the Italians, their own hams and do their own sausages and preparations for their neighborhoods. And eventually, they started to making sandwiches and small dishes for their neighborhood. It's been there forever. And nowadays, you go there at midday, you drink a beer, and you have like tapa size tasting of causa, which is that on the right, or little ceviche or octopus with olive sauce. And you can have chicha if you don't want to drink a beer. And it gives you the feel of what the neighborhood is having, of what we do, and you can try different dishes. And then we go to Barranco, which is Penny's neighborhood, and we walk around. There's, as she says, there's coffee shops, there's ice cream parlors with local flavors. And then we end up in Isolina, from Jose del Castillo. And in that corner, we standing up, we can have a fish sandwich or a raw fish roll sandwich as well, and a chilcano, a pisco. And it's a way of tasting Peruvian food, tasting what we do, locals do, without having to go to a Central restaurant or a Maido restaurant. You know, it's not a sitting down experience. This is a walking, talking, culture, architecture as well, because we tell the stories of the architecture of where we go. And that this experience comes out of my heart. And Alberto is one of our main person who takes you around, and he talks a lot about all the superfoods, and he's really knowledgeable, and he loves it. He's very passionate, the same as me.
We're very passionate. We're getting extremely hungry, but we're doing it's taking a lot.
Oh yeah, we're going longer. Yeah, okay.
To let you have a Q&A. Okay, so this is
this is other experiences. This is Pedro Miguel, the pisco tasting, and as well as in Cusco, we do other experiences, all in the same, spirit, of making you.
If you have any particular questions, of course, we can give you.
But we need to get on with the Pachamanca experiences, etc. So I'm going fast. Al fresco dining, amazing. We have great people that does it for us. So beer tasting, having tea at the top of the valley with that view, amazing. And James Bergemeyer, he's a great friend of ours, very good friend of mine. And so he loves doing this experience with us, which is going to in the train from Ollantaytambo to Machu Picchu, in the Inca Rail, and cooking for you specially a special meal. We've had very, very important guests during this experience, and he loves it. So he says, Maria Julia, when are we doing the next one? When are we doing the next one?
There's a private carriage for 12 people, 10 people by Inca Rail, which is the one that you see. And so we bring James to come and cook for it's chartered for a group.
Exactly. And it's an amazing unique experience. So I do recommend it. And then along the coast, pisco tastings, here at the Caravedo, Pisco Porton, and comes to the something that is very close to our hearts, which is the Peruvian Food Guide. This is our second edition. And as you see, it is basically, the food guide takes you on a journey, a gastronomic journey in Peru. So it tells you all the fun foods, all the restaurants, and where to go, what to do in Peru gastronomically. Don't do it without us, but this is a very good guide. This is a great guide, and you can download it from our page, from our web page. It's very, very easy. There's the instructions. So, and then I leave
I just wanted to mention that we have a monthly newsletter that if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. We've got very interesting content, and a lot of it is culinary. Of course, not all of it, but we have a lot of culinary. These are just samples of our latest editions.
Yes, and that's it. And this is us. This is our passion. And follow me in Instagram, and Penny as well. You know,
yes, Maria Julia has been doing cooking stories, cooking recipes at her home, and yes, we have published them in the stories of our
Aracari. Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Sorry for expanding so much.
It's so much to cover, actually. And thank you so much, Maria Julia, for the passionate presentation. We have some comments on a question. We have Stephen Taranto said, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Da hambre makes me hungry. And then we have, I'm going to just release the poll we have for all of you that attended today. So you will see now on your screens a poll that will help us to just improve this kind of webinar we're doing with Aracari. I have one question that is for you, Marisol. Is Mary Gladstone is asking us, this is great information. What are the plans for opening the country, if any? What can I tell my gastronomy travelers? Thank you so much.
Plans, you mean that opening the country because of COVID, I suppose, right?
Right.
Well, I don't know. It's like a crystal ball, right? I think that our borders will be closed to COVID still, like everybody's, at least a month, right? But I think that if you want to tell your guests, I think by the end of the year, right, in the autumn, North American autumn, I think that we have bookings, and we don't envisage that they would be canceled.
And I've been talking with all the chefs, my friends, about, you know, because for them it's very difficult as well, because it will be one of the last things to open. And so they are working out a plan between all of them. They have all the time talking about how to survive, and hopefully they are doing their best to continue with this. So they are all together working. That's a great thing about Peru, you know. All the chefs, there's no like rivalries. They are together. They are an amazing team of chefs. All of them work together. ¿Verdad, Penny?
Okay. Yeah, totally true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rose, I have
exactly
my shirt from Mexico.
And talking about Rose Malagamba from Mexico, she's making a nice comment and a question. She said, it's like a dream to travel through Peru with Maria Julia. I try it and I love it. Which is the best time? She said also, which is the best times to make a trip to Peru covering only Lima, Cusco, and Sacred Valley? Which is the best time of the year to go to Peru and see Lima, Cusco, and Sacred Valley?
I think April, May, no? This time is
right after the rains, right?
Because it's all green, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And there's also festivals starting to happen, and Easter, etc. So it's a very nice time.
Gastronomicamente, the same. I mean, gastronomicamente, because it's all year round, really. There's only a few products that are not, that you don't find in some times of the year. So gastronomically, anytime.
But this time is beautiful because it's the harvest time, isn't it?
Exactly. It's very nice. Very rich. Mm-hmm.
There is 2 more comments. There is one comment from Laila Said, and she said to all the panelists, congratulations on the food guide. Great accomplishment.
There's Bert. I see Bert connected. Hello,
Bert's also saying, very well done, Aracari. And we don't have any other question. We don't have any other question.
Well, yeah, so thank you, Maria Julia, Penelope for being with us today, and Alberto for organizing it, and all of you for being here. So, oh, hi.
Joyce, hello.
Hi. What a surprise.
That's great
Wow,
to see
great.
you.
Excellent. Well, it's lovely seeing you all, and do come and visit us when you can, when we can. And bye, Penelope. Happy birthday. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Take care, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.